morning, everyone. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. As a reminder, please make sure your electronic devices are set to silent. Please also ensure you're adhering to our COVID-19 protocols to include social distancing and masking if you cannot remain 6 feet apart. We'll be started shortly. Good morning. Thank you for joining us as we honor and remember those who lost their lives during the terrorist attacks 20 years ago today. We will begin our ceremony by joining in the rest of the nation with a moment of silence to commemorate the time the first plane hit the World Trade Center. Thank you. The heartbreaking events of 9/11 changed the lives of many and altered the course of history. Thousands were killed that day, thousands more were injured, and still thousands more responded to help the victims. Today's colors will be presented by the Cleveland Fire Department Honor Guard and the Cleveland Police Honor Guard, representing the joint teams that responded to the initial calls on 9/11 and in the days and weeks after. Accompanied by the Cleveland Police pipes and drums, please rise and remain standing for the presentation of colors, the national anthem, and the invocation. Today's anthem will be performed by Ms. Connie Finley, a U.S. Navy veteran and VA patient liaison.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous flight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please welcome VA Chaplain William Appleby, who will provide the invocation.
Please join me in prayer. Spirit of life, we come to you today in sorrow, pain, and uncertainty as we remember the events of September 11th, 2001, and the sacrifice and loss of those who died that day. As we gather this day, we continue to pray for those who died in the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and aboard Flight 93 in Stony Creek Township, Pennsylvania. Spirit of compassion, console those that grieve, and continue to strengthen those that survived, those that bravely ran into the rubble and devastation, and those that bore witness to the events of that life-changing day. We also gather this day to remember and to honor those that stood ready to serve as first responders and in the military operations that would come in the wake of that fateful day. We gather to remember those that sacrificed life and those that sacrificed mind, body, and spirit, and that now wear the visible and invisible wounds of war and tragedy. Spirit of love, help us to forever honor their sacrifices. Spirit of healing, continue to offer healing, hope, and peace. As we gather this day, united in sorrow for our dead, reverence for our heroes, and hope for our future, continue to draw us closer to one another in mutual love, as siblings of this life we live together. Spirit of peace, bless us, and bless our time together this day. Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. We have come together today as individual organizations committed to standing united in service to our nation. We have all chosen to serve in different ways, bound together by the idea that we are stronger together. At this time, we will hear from our speakers representing these organizations that wanted to ensure we did not forget. I would like to welcome University Circle Incorporated President Chris Ronayne.
Thank you, Kristen. Good morning. I'm Chris Ronayne. I'm president of University Circle Incorporated. It's my honor to greet you here in University Circle today in partnership with the VA, NEOPAT, and UCI, our organization. The greeting today is heavy-hearted, but I just the same welcome you. It's also a greeting that's inspired. Through the centuries, we've seen inspired service and leadership in times of battle and in times of peace. But in our generation, we saw no greater exemplification of service than what we saw on 9/11 and the images that the chaplain referenced of the bravery of men and women running to serve to those they may not have even known because it was their duty to serve. What we in a place like University Circle take from those images is the attempt to build a culture of service. That was the image that inspired, and we hope as we remember year after year, the bravery that was called upon in an instant of the men and women who went in and ran to serve. It inspires us to build a culture that will continue to serve. I want to thank our partners at the CPD, at the CFD, this is Cleveland Police and Fire, at the VA Police Department, and at the University Circle Police Department, and many more, who once again exemplified a culture of service when they never got a day off this past couple of years in the pandemic. I think what we took from the early part of this century was the motivation and the memory of how we as Americans, first and foremost, serve our brothers and sisters. May that be the motivation that sustains through the generations of those images that are difficult to look at, but are important. So we remember what we are all about, brothers and sisters who serve one another and build each other up. Our cultural institutions welcome you today. There are many ways to volunteer through them to serve and to help educate kids to be the future servants in our society of tomorrow. So we thank you, we welcome you. Most importantly, we remember the bravery and the culture that was set on the day of 9/11, that this is a country that serves its brothers and sisters. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. We'll now have Northeast Ohio Foundation for Patriotism Executive Director Rick Deshaunt.
Good morning, and thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to all of you about the importance of what nonprofits and community groups can do in helping support those who have served not only public safety, but particularly our military families. The Northeast Ohio Foundation for Patriotism, which I'll refer to as NEOPAT, was founded in 2001 by a group of local business leaders, most who were not veterans, who shared a passion for the United States, for Northeast Ohio, and its local military men and women and their families. That's real important. NEOPAT is dedicated to promoting patriotic acts such as this event today that deepen the sense of patriotism locally and to keeping the promise that we have at NEOPAT to honor and remember those that have gone before us. Understand that the NEOPAT mission is not red or blue. Like our partners over here, it's about red, white, and blue. Our driving mantra came from a song, a poem in World War II. I remember my father was a World War II veteran, whose lyrics read, "We will wait for them and we will pray for them until they all come home." And we at NEOPAT adapted and slightly revised that lyric to serve as the inspiration for our mission. For at NEOPAT, we will wait for them and we will pray for them until they all get home. And when they do, and if they or their families are in need, we at NEOPAT will do everything we can to assist them. NEOPAT proudly acts as a conduit between many civilian and military organizations, government organizations, and works daily to enrich the lives of those that serve and have served in any branch of the military and their family members. NEOPAT also provides community members an opportunity to serve by serving and supporting those who have served our nation. An example of that is here today with Red, White, and Blue Group and the wonderful volunteers who helped us with all the flags set up from U.S. Bank. We can't thank you enough. Every dollar raised by NEOPAT serves the needs of local military and their families. It's our way of saying thank you and expressing gratitude to those that have served this great nation. And it is in the spirit of the NEOPAT mission of honoring and remembering that every year on September 11th, Americans join together to honor the memory of the more than 3,000 people who died this day 20 years ago. But these solemn ceremonies on September 11th will always be more than a remembrance of the past, more than a tribute to the lives lost 20 years ago. These ceremonies today are and always will be a remembrance and a tribute to both the living and the dead. Today, we recall and celebrate what we learned about ourselves on September 11, 2001. We recall and we celebrate how we acted that day. We remember once again how ordinary human beings living their ordinary lives reacted with extraordinary heroism when, without warning and in an instant, they were thrown face to face with the most fundamental questions of human existence. Americans will be meeting like this every September 11th, I'm sure, to refresh our national memory of what we learned that day 20 years ago in 2001. Not only that we have enemies in this world who would destroy us if they could, but that age-old verities, duty, loyalty, self-sacrifice, and love still have meaning and still flourish in the hearts of the ordinary people we live and work with every day. So today, as we think back on the events of 9/11 20 years ago, our sorrow over the loss of so many good people should be tempered by the example shown by so many who died and so many who lived. They taught us that through their actions that day, what it means to be human. They showed us the value, again, of duty, loyalty, self-sacrifice, and love. And the only way we will triumph over terrorism and conquer the senseless tragedy of that horrible day is by celebrating the kindness of the human spirit. Today, as we remember those lost, I ask you to join me in a faith that the good will not only endure, that it will prevail. Join with us at NEOPAT in keeping the promise. May God bless all of you. May God bless the United States of America.
We will now have our VA Executive Director, Jill Dietrich, provide remarks.
Thank you, Kristen, and good morning, everyone. We at VA are honored to join our local and national partners in commemorating the 20th anniversary of September 11th, 2001. Today, we remember the nearly 3,000 lives lost, those injured, those responded, and those who were called to serve. The course of our future as an organization changed that day. Countless brave men and women united together to answer the call to duty in service of our nation, and we needed to stand ready to support those service members upon their return. The sacrificed and continued service of these patriots, the victims, the survivors, and those who were called into action endures. Holding today's ceremony is important to us at VA, as it is a symbol of our strength and resolve to persevere through these trying times. We are dedicated to our mission of caring for those who shall have borne the battle. Over the past 20 years, VA has dedicated resources to ensure post-9/11 veterans, their families, and caregivers have the right support in place to meet their needs. In 2003, we started a liaison program to help those seriously injured veterans who would need continued care from VA. Since then, we've expanded the program to serve all post-9/11 era veterans, becoming a proactive, comprehensive, integrated transition and case management program. This post-11 transition and case management program is designed to help veterans address their unique needs, learn to navigate the VA system, and provide them with support based on their unique goals and individual needs. I'd like to take a moment and recognize the post-9/11 veterans and service members here with us today. You bravely and selflessly answered our nation's call, for which you have our utmost gratitude. I invite all post-9/11 veterans in attendance today to please raise your hand or step forward and be recognized. Thank you to all of you. The tragic events of 9/11 has lasting impacts on all of us, but especially our service members who were called upon to fight. Thankfully, through lessons learned and an integrative approach to care, we've been able to develop comprehensive programs that address their physical, mental, and emotional well-being, increasing positive outcomes. We would not be able to do this without our strong VA team and our community partners. I would like to thank our VA team and community partners who stepped up to answer the call in support of these service members. Thank you. As I look back on the tragic events that occurred on September 11, 2001, I am reminded of the strength of our nation. This strength is embodied by our men and women in uniform, the veterans that we serve. We know today can be difficult for many of our veterans and for all of those who lost their loved ones. Please know you are not alone. We are here for you, and we will continue to be. May we always remember those who we've lost, be grateful for the heroes that responded, and be forever indebted to those who were inspired to serve after that fateful day. It is a privilege to serve those who have served today and always. Thank you all for joining us.
As you just heard, the meaning of service and the impact comes in various forms throughout this great nation. Our guest speaker today has chosen to serve throughout his life as a U.S. Marine and a first responder. Please welcome Cleveland City of Police Deputy Chief Harold Purtell.
Good morning, everyone. Certainly my privilege to be a part of this august group, Gold Star families, veterans, public safety professionals, loved ones, and friends. I'm Deputy Chief Harold Purtell from Homeland Special Operations, Cleveland Division of Police, 4-year Marine Corps veteran, and a Honorable Lewis Stokes Fellow. I am humbled to have the privilege to speak here today on this Patriots Day as we remember the 20th anniversary of 9/11. You've heard a lot about the day, you know all about it. I'm going to speak a little bit more about service. I want to thank the Cleveland Police Foundation Executive Director Rick Deshaunt, also from Northeast Ohio NEOPAT, Lewis Stokes VA, and University Circle Incorporated for having me here. We already had a moment of silence, but I'd like you to start thinking as I go through my speech about the 303 Ohio service members' lives which were taken in the last 20 years. Out of those 303, the latest was Navy Corpsman Maxton Soviak. Maxton's service will be tomorrow in Milan, Ohio at Edison High School. The latest in our Ohio casualties here, and I think something certainly to be honored. I know when we think about 9/11, we think of where we were, and we kind of hear people say they know where they were when President Kennedy was assassinated, etc. Well, I can tell you from my experience, I was a sergeant on night shift. I was sleeping. My brother called me, and his words were, "Our country's under attack." Turn the TV on, and you all know the history. I called my district commander because I knew that our unit would be obviously mobilized, and obviously led to some difficult days ahead from there. I want to mention I wear this bracelet, which I graduated from the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. One of my classmates was a battalion chief from the Fire Department in New York. And this bracelet I wear for Rescue 2 in New York City has the names of the 7 firefighters from Rescue 2 who lost their lives during the attack of 9/11. I'm very proud to wear that. That's my Homeland Security connection to my brothers in arms, because even though I'm a police officer, I know that we are all one team here. So I kind of want to mention that, and think of how the families of people whose lives have been taken has changed, how their families continue to survive and reflect and think about their service members whose lives are taken. And I use the word taken because they're taken by criminal action. By definition, an act of terrorism is a crime. It cannot be terrorism without a crime first. So those lives were taken on that day, and certainly in the battlefield and terrorist acts, etc., we continue to lose service members. But it's important to keep that in mind when we talk about first responders, also firefighters, police officers whose lives are taken by criminal action. They're taken. It's important for us to think of them. This post-9/11 world we live in affected the way we travel. Obviously, TSA, you can't take, X amount of ounces, et cetera, and that's been relaxed somewhat, but we went through a lot. You go to a football game, the NFL has different standards. You go to a marathon, Velosano today, there's a different protective posture we must live with. Here at the VA, at the federal building, there's different protective posture that we've taken. If nothing else, though, we are absolutely the better for it. But it certainly changed the way not only our country, but the way the world runs. We know about the underwear bomber. We know that the gaps in security in Lagos, Nigeria. We know all these other things. But as far as our country, we knew it was very important that we go ahead and lock things down. Some people use the term occupational hazard when you talk about the military, when you talk about first responders. The occupational hazard probably applies a little more to a machinist who cuts his finger off. Probably a little more to the logger whose chainsaw cuts his leg than to a service member who is here to protect and defend our country and deals with direct action from the enemy. That's a little bit different. I'll give you a little bit of timeline of myself. My dad was a United States Air Force Vietnam era veteran. He had a cousin who was a door gunner on a helicopter in Vietnam, was killed in action. I was an explorer of the Sheriff's Department when I was in high school. Then I joined the Marine Corps, deployed 3rd FSSG, and I can tell you, one of my proudest moments, beyond crossing that parade deck, earning the title United States Marine, was sitting on the fantail of the USS San Bernardino, seeing that flag waving, and when you look out over the ocean, see nothing but horizon, and knowing that you are part of the greatest military power in the world, the greatest Navy in the world. That just, quite a moving moment. Many of you have experienced that. Just for me personally, that really hit home. When I left the Marine Corps, joined the Sheriff's Department, and then I joined the Police Department a few years later. I'm very proud to be a member of the Division of Police because we are the most visible form of government. When you think about it, you see more police officers than you see the mail carriers, than you see service, the Streets Department, the Parks and Rec. You see more bus drivers. You see more police officers to remind you of the government. So I'm very proud of that. Whether we serve in the military service, and I'll speak specifically to the Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, Navy, and now Space Force, whether you serve in that military service, and let's not forget about the National Guard. Let's not forget our guardsmen, who many of them were forward deployed. I know that many of them didn't sign on for it. They signed on for whatever the nation sent them, but that wasn't it. I'll get paid for college, I'll do a couple hurricanes, and then I'll be the better for it. Not quite the case. During COVID, we saw they're giving out vaccinations, they're giving out food, they respond to disasters, but most importantly, they're forward deployed, folks. So please don't forget our National Guardsmen. We know that when we talk about service in the military, you have the military command structure, officers enlisted. We know, and many of you know the adage that the enlisted members wear their rank on their sleeve because it is their hard work. They're changing the tank tracks. They're lowering engines. They're the ones serving crew-served weapons, whereas the military officers wear the rank on their shoulder because that is the weight of leadership. The weight of leadership of making decisions. Not that they're not made by non-commissioned officers, but making decisions, strategic decisions. So that's highly important that we keep that in mind. The skill sets that the military gives us, whether it's creating interlocking fields of fire or using GPS to coordinate UAV strikes or installing engines in our vehicles, all those skills are necessary for it to keep moving. There's a place for everyone, and every mission is important. I'd like for us to certainly mention that. Uniformed services. We refer as uniformed services, let's think on this, I'll say the civilian side, police, fire, corrections, emergency medical service. These are the people in the communities, first responders that we see normally. Those are our members of the uniformed services and certainly my brothers in arms. Public service. Let's talk about public service. Teachers, street workers, clerks, everyone else who serves government, conducts a function of government to keep the machine going, folks, to keep America humming the way it does today. When we talk about service, and you've all been there, you know that everyone always says, well, when I was in the Army, the pack was 120 pounds. Now it's 90 pounds. Each time it changes, the stories change. In the police department, it does too. Well, that's because now we have Kevlar, we have Gore-Tex. Things are different. We do things a little smarter. We have technology. But we always hear that, and we catch that in the police department also. I mentioned those service categories. The most important component, the underpinning to all of those, are families. The families of service members serve with the member. We can't forget what that family goes through. Waiting for that phone call. Or when they don't get a phone call. They're used to getting regular updates and they don't. Now they get emails. They don't get emails. Think about that and keep them in your hearts and your prayers, folks. Young people in the audience, keep it in mind. All service is not military service. All service is not uniform service. You can serve in many different capacities in our communities, but the importance is that we do good. We do good to serve our communities. Northeast Ohio is very fortunate. We have a very high number of veteran service organizations to support these members and for these members to participate in later on, starting with the Buffalo Soldiers, who are here for the dedication of this Lewis Stokes VA Medical Center, the Polish American Legion, the Marine Corps League, where I am a proud lifetime member, VFW, American Legion, Jewish, Ukrainian, Catholic veterans organizations. There is a plethora of veterans organizations in Northeast Ohio, probably more than in many other metropolitan areas. We are the 5th and 6th states contributing to the academies, whether it's Annapolis Air Force Academy, Merchant Marine Academy, U.S. Coast Guard Academy, and West Point. We also have the highest contributions to enlisted members in Ohio. Ohio is a high contributing state to the military. The service provided not only by military service, uniformed service, and public service is what makes America strong. It's what keeps America safe. It sets an example for the world, but more importantly, it touches younger generations and lets them see what we must do to keep making America better. I'm going to just share with you a couple of the mottos from the military branches, and so you may know some of them, you may not know all of them. U.S. Air Force, aim high, fly, fight, win. That was coined in 2010. It was created by Air Force members. U.S. Army is this will defend. Goes back to the days of the Continental Army. Coast Guard, Semper Paratus, because they are always ready. In Marine Corps, always faithful to God, Corps, and country. U.S. Navy, non sibi sed patri, not self, but country. And Space Force, Semper Supra, always above. Kind of makes sense, right, Space Force, but anyway, these are all grounded in a belief of service to our country, keeping our country strong, keeping our country safe. I do ask you, where would we be without the sacrifices of these families and of these service members. Where would our country be without that strong sense of service from the military to uniformed services to local service? Whether it's at the city level, county level, state level, federal level, it's important that we support that, and we support the families who support them. Gold Star families, please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Obviously, they paid the ultimate price. I want to leave you with a thought that there's a greater tomorrow, there's a safer tomorrow, and we can make sure that that happens by supporting the service members and supporting their families going forward. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. At this time, we will have Chuck Orzechowski and other members of Team Red, White, and Blue and our VA Executive Director, Jill Dietrich, come forward for a special presentation. Every year, more than 250,000 active duty service members transition out of the military, joining the 3.5 million post 9/11 veterans already living in communities nationwide. Team Red, White, and Blue strives to help these veterans by forging leading health and wellness communities for veterans, service members, and their families. They hope to make tomorrow better. Chapters throughout Ohio are participating in the Ohio Old Glory Relay. Hundreds of veterans and civilian supporters will be walking, running, cycling, and wheeling around the state over the course of 6 weeks, carrying Old Glory during their journey. This relay is what Team Red, White, and Blue and VA are all about, supporting veterans. Team Red, White, and Blue has partnered with Glory for Vets, a local veteran service nonprofit, to produce a custom-made flagpole to honor the services provided by the Lewis Stokes Cleveland VA Medical Center. This special flagpole will carry Old Glory during the journey beginning September 18th until it returns to rest at the Cleveland VA Medical Center, a symbol of service, sacrifice, and dedication. Good luck to Team Red, White, and Blue on your journey. We will see you 1,000 miles from now. The placing of a wreath and playing of taps is a customary sign of honor and remembrance. Our Executive Director, Ms. Dietrich, and our VA police officers, Captain Kathleen Schindler, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, and Lieutenant Jesse Lemaster, will now place a wreath in remembrance of those who lost their lives 20 years ago today. With us from the Cleveland Orchestra to perform taps is Assistant Principal Trumpet Lyle Steelman.
Way over up by the street.
Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you to our partner organizations for co-hosting this ceremony. We ask that you please follow the flags in just a moment to the Cleveland Gold Star Family's Memorial Monument for a special event. The reading of the names from Northeast Ohio of those we've lost in service to our nation since September 11th, 2001. We can never truly repay the nation's debt to our Gold Star families, but we can continue to remember and honor their loved ones. For those attending virtually, please join us on our main Facebook page in just a few minutes for the special ceremony. Thank you, and have a great day.
Follow this way, we'll go down, we'll walk the flag over.